A legendary figure from the silver screen meets a young girl on a quest for hope. This remarkable meeting will linger in your memory forever. In the quiet nook of Santa Monica, the gentle glow of the late afternoon sun cast a golden light, painting the scene with warmth and serenity. Mel Gibson, with his sunglasses perched low on his nose, savored his coffee outside a quaint cafe tucked between a thrift store and a laundromat. He seemed like just another local, clad in denim and a simple navy t-shirt, savoring a fleeting moment of peace. Yet, the rare moments of unbroken peace are like hidden gems, especially amidst the lively chaos of these vibrant streets. A young girl, perhaps just 13, stepped out from the shadows, her tattered backpack in hand and her feet bare against the ground. Her wild brown hair surrounded a face that told tales of weariness far beyond her years. She paused a few steps away from Mel, her gaze lingering on him with a mix of uncertainty, as if weighing the decision to break the silence. She finally spoke, "Excuse me," her voice soft yet unwavering. Mel's brow knitted in surprise as he looked up. With a restless hand tracing the worn edges of her purse strap, she paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. "Do you know who Jesus Christ is?" The question landed with the force of a thunderclap, cutting through the ordinary chatter of passers-by and the far-off murmur of vehicles. Mel paused for a moment, lost in thought. The cup of coffee lingered just shy of his lips, his hand suspended in a moment of stillness. He looked at her, truly gazed at her, into eyes that held both innocence and the weight of unspoken tales of struggle. With a gentle tone, he responded, "What prompts your question?" As he set his cup down on the table, his voice carried a deep, warm quality, free from any hint of judgment. It was marked by an insatiable curiosity. The girl swayed gently from one foot to the other, a subtle shrug escaping her shoulders. Whispers of his existence fill the air, yet I remain in the shadows, oblivious to who he truly is. Do you truly? Yet, Mel found himself paused by the girl's expression before he could utter a word. It was not just a simple question, it was a heartfelt plea, a silent yearning for something deeper. Mel's fingers wove together as he observed the woman leaning back in his chair with a thoughtful air. Her shoulders drooped, burdened by an invisible load, making her seem even smaller in that moment, as if the entire world rested upon her fragile form. He sensed that the question held a deeper significance. There existed a deep and pure energy, a powerful and undeniable presence. His voice carried a calm intensity as he finally responded, "Yes. I know him well." The girl's eyes flickered with a spark of hope or curiosity, only to be quickly shrouded by a practiced indifference. With a firm grasp on her knapsack, she tilted her head thoughtfully. "How would you describe his character?" Mel found herself momentarily stunned by the profound simplicity of her question, and she took a moment to reflect. He cast a keen eye about, noting a handful of souls who pretended not to listen, deliberately dragging their feet. The cafe's patio seemed to shrink as an unusual tension filled the air, drawing all eyes to their conversation. With a gesture, he indicated the empty chair that awaited a companion across from him. "May I invite you to find a comfortable seat?" The young woman paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. She cast a fleeting look at the chair, then turned back to Mel, pondering if this was a trick or a genuine act of goodwill. At last, she inched forward, settling herself on the brink of the seat, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Notice how his tone started to gentle. "While I may not hold a title like pastor, the significance of Jesus resonates deeply within me. He is a person who unwaveringly holds onto his faith in you, no matter the trials that life may throw your way. He embodies the essence of forgiveness and the hope of new beginnings, even when it seems that time has run out." With a delicate touch, the girl's finger danced across the table, following unseen paths as her gaze fell softly downward. "Starting fresh, are we?" she whispered softly, as if sharing a secret with the wind. Mel leaned in just a bit, as if drawn by an unseen thread of curiosity. "Indeed, I am embarking on a fresh journey. Have you ever felt the compelling need for that?" She paused, her silence lingering in the air. Instead, she focused intently on her hands, her lips forming a tight, straight line. "Every now and then, she subtly recognized, yet I believe it is not quite fitting for someone like me." Yet, Mel swiftly ensured her words did not linger in the atmosphere for long. His voice flowed steadily, and his reply came without hesitation. "What's stopping us?" he asked, his question cutting through her doubt like a beacon in the night. The girl averted his gaze, her shoulders rising in a subtle shrug. "I have taken steps that fill me with regret, and others view me as unworthy of a fresh start." His expression held a gentle weight as Mel's words settled into the air around them. He settled into his chair, his fingertips softly drumming against the table's edge. He started with a steady and resolute voice. "You see, I shared that sentiment as well." Her eyes flicked up to connect with his. A sense of astonishment, maybe even incredulity, lingered in the air. "Who might you be?" With a hint of disbelief, she asked. He let out a faint, mirthless laugh. "Yeah, me. I have made grave mistakes that have hurt those who were close to my heart. At times, I felt as though I was trapped in a deep pit of my own making, with no hope of climbing out. Yet, a moment of clarity dawned upon me. It transcends the notion of merit. Grace is a free spirit, untamed and unbound. That is what bestows upon it a sense of elegance." The girl's expression held a hint of uncertainty, as if the idea danced just out of reach, teasing her curiosity. "Ah, so in that fleeting moment you found yourself completely freed from all burdens?" Mel recognized that the circumstances were more complex than they seemed at first glance. A considerable investment of time and effort was needed. I found myself drawn to face parts of my being that I had long avoided recognizing. I felt a deep compulsion to seek forgiveness from those I had wronged, as well as from the divine. Moreover, it is essential to note that his voice softened as he leaned in closer. Though the journey was fraught with challenges, it proved to be a rewarding adventure. In that moment, the girl looked at him with a fierce intensity, her earlier doubts melting away like morning mist. "What sparked your wish to change?" Mel's gaze drifted toward the horizon, searching for the perfect words to weave into his tale. He took a moment to gather his thoughts. "At long last, I found myself at the very depths," he declared. "And when one finds themselves at the depths, there remains but a single journey to embark upon. Yet this task proves to be beyond your solitary reach. The lesson I needed to learn was that—" She nodded slowly, a gesture not of complete understanding, but of a dawning realization taking root within her. His words carried a raw, authentic, and profound significance. Yet, just as she was about to reply, a soft interruption swept in, altering the course of the moment. A handful of onlookers lingered nearby, their intrigued gazes darting between Mel and the girl, drawn in by the surprising closeness of their interaction. The girl glanced back, her eyes catching the small gathering nearby, a wise woman with her arms full of groceries, a couple entwined in each other's warmth, and a man clad in a gray suit, standing apart yet somehow part of the scene. With a gentle pause, they allowed the echoes of the conversation to weave through the air, each step taken with a measured grace. Mel watched intently, her demeanor suggesting that she was unfazed by the unfolding events. Instead, he remained deeply focused, comfortably settled in his chair. He carried on, as though he were sharing secrets meant only for her ears. "At times, life unveils its wonders when you think you are alone in your thoughts. People behold the wonders around them. They bear witness to moments like this." The girl seemed to harbor a sense of skepticism. She whispered, her tone laced with a hint of resentment, "They're simply being intrusive." Mel replied with a nonchalant shrug, "Perhaps they too are on a quest for something, much like you. A spark that ignites the possibility of change, a glimmer of hope, and a quest for purpose." Her gaze lingered on him, a gentle warmth flickering in her eyes. "Do you genuinely hold the conviction that circumstances can get better? Is this intended for a specific audience?" Mel declared with conviction, "I do not believe so." "I understand." A woman from the small crowd stepped forward, her intrigue guiding her steps. With a hint of uncertainty, she murmured, "Excuse me," her fingers tightly gripping the shopping bag. "Are you weaving a tale of belief?" Mel offered a gracious bow in her direction. With a steady voice, he declared, "We are." "The way it can guide you through significant shadows is remarkable." The woman's irises shimmered with a captivating light, and a delicate smile graced her lips. She whispered softly, as if sharing a secret with the universe, I needed to hear that today. The girl's stance eased a bit as she took in the moment unfolding before her. It felt as if the company of others cast a light on her own uncertainties and worries, amplifying them in the shared space. She leaned in just a bit, her voice softening to a whisper. So, what do you do when you're unsure of how to start your journey? What do you do for a living? Mel's voice flowed with a calm certainty as he locked eyes with her. Begin your journey from where you stand, making the most of what you have at hand. Even if it is just a question, it is enough. Yet, the woman remained silent for a moment, her thoughts lingering in the air. Instead, she remained still, her fingertips gliding along the table's edge, pondering the choice between trusting him or retreating into the protective cocoon she had built to endure. The girl's fingertips lingered on the table, her eyes brimming with a silent, profound emotion. She finally asked, "Have you ever felt so lost that the way out seemed to vanish entirely, as if it never existed at all?" Mel's expression shifted, revealing a flicker of torment etched upon his features. He nodded slowly, the gravity of her question enveloping him like a thick fog. Indeed, he responded with a serene demeanor. "Once, I found myself wandering through that location. There were evenings when I felt as though the path back would forever elude me. It feels as if no one would notice if I chose not to." The girl's gaze dropped to her lap as she struggled to suppress a deep breath. Her voice quivered softly as she whispered, "That is how I feel all the time." In that fleeting moment, the bustling world around them faded away, leaving just the two of them in a cocoon of intimacy. Mel's voice carried a soothing strength as he leaned in closer. He proclaimed, "You are mistaken. It might not be clear to you right now, but there are those who hold genuine concern. And at times, just one person can be enough to guide you home once more." Her gaze lifted to connect with his. In that moment, a crack appeared in her once impenetrable facade, revealing the fragility that lay beneath the surface. "Where does your wisdom originate?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mel paused, his fingers grazing the edge of his coffee cup for a fleeting moment. He recounted, "Well, I have personally experienced it. There was a time when I thought I had lost it all. My honor, my loved ones, and my craft. Yet, there was a presence that believed in me, even in moments when I struggled to believe in myself. And that is what saved me." The girl's brow furrowed deeply, a clear sign of her battle to grasp the meaning behind his words. "Who could it be?" she asked. Mel offered a subtle smile. He painted himself as a companion in the journey, a soul who held steadfast in their belief in me, even when I had faltered in my own belief. The girl's lips parted, a moment suspended in time, as if the very air held its breath, waiting for her words to dance into existence. Yet, before she could weave her reply, one of the watchers interjected, breaking the flow of her thoughts. The person clad in the gray suit conveyed a blend of intrigue and admiration, remarking that it seems you have journeyed through much in your life. Mel cast a keen eye over the growing crowd and offered a subtle nod. He replied, "We all endure much. Yet, the emphasis lies not on our individual journeys. It relates to our choice about how we will respond. You stand at a crossroads, faced with the choice to let it consume you or to let it shape you into something greater." As he spoke, the girl's eyes brimmed with tears, and her defenses started to fall away, creating a moment that felt both freeing and threatening. With a quick motion, she brushed away the tears that had begun their quiet descent down her cheeks, using the sleeve of her oversized hoodie to catch them before they could fall further. As she wove her tale, her voice barely reached the ears of her listeners, trembling with emotion. What unfolds when one is deemed irreparable? What if the hour has passed us by? Mel's irises shimmered with intensity, and his voice carried a calm strength, resonating with unwavering conviction. He proclaimed that the hour is never too late. This is not meant for you, nor for anyone else. The fissures and the voids are merely elements of your tale. They do not hold the power to define your essence. Your next actions will shape your identity. The girl's fingers gripped the worn strap of her knapsack, her head shaking slowly in defiance. She declared, her voice trembling, "You do not grasp the depth of the experience. Existing in the shadows. It feels as if your presence holds little significance. It feels like you are shrouded in a veil of invisibility." Mel's eyes held steady, his posture leaning in with intent. He spoke, I see you. Furthermore, you hold great importance. You hold a greater significance than you realize. The girl's breath quickened, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed she might escape. Yet, she stayed rooted in her place, captivated by his words, or perhaps the very way he expressed them. With a trembling voice, she looked down at her palms and asked, "What should I do? What is the best way to begin?" Mel carefully unfolded a small, crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. With a deliberate motion, he placed it on the table that lay between them. He mentioned that a shelter could be found just a few blocks away. They can help you find your balance once more. It's not easy, but it marks the start of a journey. And if you ever need someone to talk to, he wrote a phone number on the back of the paper. Could you please contact me? She paused, lifting the paper and gazing at it thoughtfully. Are you truly willing to assist me? She asked, her voice laced with doubt. Mel replied without a moment's pause, certainly. In the wake of the help I once received, a spark ignited within me, urging me to extend my hand in return. The girl held the paper tightly, her lips trembling with unspoken emotions. Her eyes sparkled with a newfound hope, a light that had never shone so brightly before. It was a fleeting glimpse of possibility, a realization that she was not as unseen as she had once thought. Yet, just as this moment of clarity blossomed, a voice from the crowd broke the silence, but it did nothing to overshadow the importance of what had just unfolded. The expression of a middle-aged man from the throng was a blend of emotion and wonder as he stepped forward. He spoke to Mel, yet his gaze drifted to the girl, and he remarked, "I have never seen anything like this." It serves as a wellspring of inspiration. Mel's face hinted at a smile as he looked up at the person. It's not about inspiration, he said. It's about behaving in a way that is morally right. Every so often, people need a gentle nudge to remember they are part of something greater. The man nodded, clearly moved, and stepped back, blending into the close-knit circle. The girl, still clutching the paper, looked around at the gathered faces. For the first time, she seemed to embrace their gaze, a newfound confidence radiating from her. With a subtle adjustment in her posture, it was as if she had awakened to the truth of her presence. Turning back to Mel, her voice transformed gentle yet unwavering. "Thank you," she expressed, her sincerity shining through, "for seeing me, for everything." Mel nodded in understanding. He reassured me that this journey is possible, one step at a time. Persevere, no matter the obstacles that lie ahead. With a mix of intention and hesitation, she rose to her feet. Her bare soles pressed against the pavement, each step taken with purpose, prompting the crowd to part before her. The gravity of the moment hung heavy in the air, reflected in the faces of those who had borne witness to her departure. Mel sat in his chair, taking a deep breath. He reached for his coffee again, only to find it had turned cold. It was a trivial matter. The coffee was not on his mind. Instead, his thoughts were consumed by the girl and the question she had asked. A question had unearthed layers of his life he had not planned to confront. Yet, just when he thought the moment had passed, an elderly woman from the audience drew near, her eyes glistening with feeling. She murmured, "That was exquisite. What a captivating topic you've shared with us." Mel's expression was one of deep thought as he offered a humble nod of appreciation to the elderly woman. He remarked that sometimes the smallest moments can leave the most profound impressions. The girl's presence was a gentle nudge, awakening the power of a question I had almost let slip away. The woman offered a soft smile, brushing away a tear that lingered at the edge of her eye. "It's rare to encounter someone who shows such profound attentiveness as you did." This moment would be etched in her mind forever. Mel lingered in silence, watching the girl's silhouette diminish into the distance as the crowd scattered. The paper he had handed her seemed trivial, yet he understood its potential worth to someone in need. He wished for her to hold on to it, not just the address or the number, but the deep-seated belief that someone out there truly cared. The cafe patio was draped in elongated shadows as the sun started its descent. Eventually, Mel stood from his seat and made his way to his vehicle, leaving a generous tip on the table. Though he couldn't quite express why, a sense of lightness enveloped him. Maybe it was the girl's courage to ask the question, the crowd's response, or the gentle nudge that hope persists, even in the darkest moments. As he opened his car door, he cast one last glance back, her words echoing in his thoughts. What unfolds when one is deemed irreparable? He softly shook his head. No soul is ever too broken to find their way back. That is the heart of grace. To all who find themselves immersed in this tale, take a moment to reflect. Often, it is the tiniest acts, a gentle word, an attentive ear, or the simple acknowledgement of another's existence that can change a life forever, for we can never truly know the battles they face. Shine your light for someone in need. If this tale struck a chord within you, consider subscribing to this channel for more tales that highlight the transformative power of human connection, faith, and compassion. Ultimately, it is these moments that draw us nearer to understanding what truly matters.